Our next presenters, Charlie and Ruba, come to us from Lockheed Martin. Charlie's the 3D Immersive Environment Technologies Program Manager for Lockheed, where he leads the Virtual Worlds Labs, and Ruba's the technical lead of Lockheed's Virtual World Environment. What we're going to see is we're really going to see here the frontier in collaborative communications. So immersive 3D worlds that are ideal for mission planning or rehearsal. On the other hand, Charlie, I'm not so sure I would have gone to some of the war zones where I went had I already seen them in 3D before I got there. So I guess that's the flip side of it all. All right, take it away. That's your mic.
Yeah, thanks so much, Sheldon, for the introduction. You know, the last two, the presentation and the keynote, are acts to follow. But, you know, Beth's presentation, or keynote, was amazing. I can't think of a more perfect way to introduce the subject of virtual worlds to this group today than she did. So I'm thrilled about being able to do that. So Ruba Al-Qadi and I lead the Lockheed Martin Virtual Worlds Labs, which has groups of engineers and people across the nation and across the world who are working with just about every virtual and gaming technology that exists. Let me flip back to the presentation here. Thank you so much for your help. So it's amazing what's happened in the last 2 years. If you look at what's happened across federal government, across the international community, the work that National Defense University has done, Second Life, Forterra, all the different games. Beth talked a lot about World of Warcraft. It's absolutely amazing what's happened. So I think we're really at a tipping point. Matter of fact, we're past the tipping point. And we're seeing things like Friedman predicted in his book, The World is Flat. The tools we're looking at now are really making the world flat. And if you look at Ray Kurzweil's projections for technology and what that will do to our culture, it's happening as we speak. So it's really pretty thrilling. It's also a little bit unnerving because it's happening fast, not sure where it's going. So I'm going to go through the charts kind of quickly today. We've got some demos, so I want to get through those. So please engage us after this to talk about these subjects, because we don't want to keep people away from the break any longer than we have to. So, are we good? Okay. Oh, still looking. Okay, yes, perfect. Thank you so much. Yeah, almost there. Thank you. Absolutely. So what we'll do is we'll do a presentation. We're going to do a few little video clips, and then if the networking gods smile on us at the very end, we'll do a quick live demo. But we've got groups of people across the country that use this every day for meetings, for live collaboration, working with folks in Europe. We now have the connection there. We're reaching out to Australia. And last week we met with a group of folks in Djibouti, Africa, and they're excited about using this tool to do training, to do collaboration, to do other kinds of things that they want to do with a virtual world, and to help them with what they struggle with geographic and political isolation where they are. So. Okay. I think we're almost there. Perfect. Okay. Yes, thank you so much. Good. Okay. So a quick definition for a virtual world. Matter of fact, I'm not even going to belabor this because I think Beth explained it so well. But it's a... Whoop. Okay. Okay. Yes, absolutely. It's not... Okay. Thank you. There we go. So we have the concept of a virtual world, and a mirror world is a virtual world that's informationally enhanced. So you bring in geospatial data, you bring in the sense data that we just heard about that is very compelling. I'd like to hear a lot more about that. That's an amazing application. Anything that a person needs in a virtual world to give them the real world capabilities that are necessary is what we talk about in terms of building a mirror world that's informationally enhanced. It's a reflection of the physical world. So if you look at the many different kinds of needs that the Peacebuilding knowledge worker has, I mean, learning and training, simulation, the ability to collaborate anywhere, anytime, in a real robust environment. The idea of having a meeting that is just like this meeting, where we have an audience, we have this one-to-one interaction, it's visual, it's perceptive, but it's a group of people all over the world, just like you have an online audience today, people around the world. The same thing is actually possible with these technologies right now, and it's making amazing differences. But you look at the whole area of knowledge management, this brings whole new possibilities to knowledge management. It's an important framework for knowledge management. And the ability to share access and to immerse ourselves in information, it's an amazing frontier that we're now at, and that we can embark on to help to solve peace building and many other kinds of needs that we have across the world. So right now I'd like to run through a few small demos that we have. These are video clips. The first one is an Army-based simulation. I'm just showing it because it's convenient, but think about what's shown and then think how that could be applied to any other similar situation. What we're doing is we're taking what is normally a computer-based training exercise, putting people into a virtual classroom, letting them run that, and then taking these people out into the field, into the world, and running an exercise. And these people are people that are all over the world. They're sitting at their computers somewhere, and they're meeting in world to actually have this experience. Excuse me, I think we lost the video, but I'll bring it right back up here.
Forterra Systems, as directed and funded by the joint ADL CoLab, has developed a demonstration of how SCORM can be integrated into games and virtual worlds. This video is comprised of live screen captures taken during a demonstration IED training exercise. In this exercise, you'll see an instructor and multiple learners using Forterra's Olive virtual world to present and access SCOs in real time. As the learner approaches, the local lesson button will flash, and the learner, with a single click, will open the SCO. A flashing indicator labeled Instructor Lesson is the learner's access to the lesson. Instructor books can be dropped in place and continue broadcasting in the absence of the instructor. SCO players in Olive are also video capable, built upon the Microsoft Internet Explorer framework.
All right, how are we all doing? Everyone done?
Done.
Yes, Sergeant.
Fitness, Sergeant.
Okay, do we have any questions at this point?
No, Sergeant.
No, Sergeant.
All right, then let's go. Let's move on out. Soldiers, I want you to spread out and carefully observe the damage here. Was this a high or low yield IED? Report any potential secondary IEDs you see also.
In the field during an exercise, a learner can access a SCO for reference. Every learner has his own lesson book for just that purpose. A side-by-side display with Olive maintains context for the user, so he can freely switch between learning and interacting.
Okay, the next demonstration we'd like to show you is a virtual exercise called Golden Phoenix, which is a yearly collaboration between the DHS, the military, state and local governments in California. But the scenario is that we have a terrorist group that is infiltrating the border, and all of these different groups have to collaborate together once the terrorists are discovered, and then they are pursued, and then they disposition them. So this shows how this tool can be used by agencies across political and organizational boundaries, across geographic boundaries, to actually work together live in an environment. So we ran this virtually as the live exercise proceeded, and it was an amazing success.
seeing here, behind us here, that's Lockheed Martin's Virtual World Lab. We're working with them. We've taken their UAV and they're putting new applications on top of our Olive platform. We call it our online interactive virtual environment. So we can create virtual worlds to bring people together to collaborate, communicate. That's a PowerPoint presentation. We can do PowerPoints. We can do video. We're working on streaming video, virtual whiteboarding, laser points, and all that. Hey, Major Sammy, what do we got here?
Yes, sir. We just received the information from the UAV. We're checking it out now. All right, appears we have a situation, sir. I need to pass on. Border Command, this is Desert Hawk Operations Center. We have a border penetration at Sector 23. Acknowledge.
This is Border Command. We acknowledge en route to Sector 23, ETA 36. JTF-CCC, this is Border Command. We are apprehending the suspect. One of them has tried to engage. One mic for further information. JTF-CCC, be advised that one of the suspects...
Okay, with that being said, I know we're pressed for time. I have a couple of other videos that if we had time I would show. The last one is actually a first responders video that shows how a group of first responders would respond to a traffic accident or some sort of a need that is an emergency where people actually use the environment both for training but also for real-time situational awareness. Quickly, we have a return on investment study which compares the use of a virtual worlds tool to the ways that we collaborate today. It shows that there is a significant increase in the ability to collaborate, work together effectively at a much reduced cost. I think that's a key issue. A couple of key thoughts, a few key thoughts about applications to peace building. If you look at the curve of conflict, virtual worlds gives us a continuum of capabilities all the way from collaboration that allow you to, as the curve of conflict progresses, to conduct exercises, to have real-time collaboration, to have emergency operations centers, and basically a virtual control center that you can actually use as a peace-building tool. That's one thought. I'd love to talk to you if you have other ideas. Finally, if we had a little time, we would do a live mirror world demo. Let's do it for 2 minutes. Ruba, would you conduct the demo? And Ruba recently conducted a pilot for Lockheed using the virtual war room environment to actually have a group of people who are not IT savvy to work together to actually test the tool. We collected metrics, and Ruba can say one brief discussion of that, and we'll go to questions, Sheldon. Thank you so much.
Hi, how you doing? This platform is actually we're showing now is what we did is we actually took, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but if you look around, this is actually a DC mall in the virtual world, and this is the actual DC mall in the virtual world. Hold on. We do have our engineers in Worlds. As you can see, they're actually located in Fairfax, Virginia, and they just come to show the calibration, the collaboration mechanism. But you can talk to them, you can communicate with them in the virtual world. But the best thing about this is you can walk in the virtual world, but actually be walking in the actual world. So if you walk into this DC Mall area, this is the actual buildings. I think if you look around, there's the different museums around here, and I think that's the Smithsonian down there. And so this is the actual representation of the world. And so this gives you a very accurate, you could collaborate as if, get familiar with the environment, collaborate, and make sure that you're familiar with all the areas, especially if there's an area you haven't been to. This is a really good way to kind of get familiar with it. And in our corporation, in Lockheed Martin, we actually had a pilot, a very small pilot, to see how this collaboration environment could actually potentially enhance business in the business world. We didn't use real-world visuals like this. What we did is we made a very, very simplified virtual environment for our folks, because most of them were not at all familiar with gaming or virtual environments. And we wrote a white paper, actually the pilot ended, we wrote a white paper, and it was very, very actually successful. They were very interested in continue using it. So our IT group is continuing to enhance that pilot and introduce it potentially as a virtual environment for conferencing and meeting for teams that are virtually that work virtually around the corporation.
Thank you so much. I think we'll go to questions.
Let's turn the lights on. I'm sure there's lots of questions about this whiz-bang technology.
Lynn Wells, Mendu, how quickly can you put one of these together? For example, let's say we have a remote village in Afghanistan, and you want to simulate what the people are going to see. You've got something like Street View, you've got OpenStreetMaps, you've got Google Earth. Can you put one of these together in sort of hours, or is it a...
It's a matter of hours, days, depending on the data sources you have. We have geographic data for the United States, most of the areas of the United States, and certain areas in the world. Now, there's certain areas that we don't have it because it's too dangerous to fly. So we may have to look for other sources. But once you have the sources of data, we've automated the ability to bring that data into the tool so that within a matter of days, typically days, once you give us the data, we can import it and you can actually be up and running and using it. And if there's a mission-critical need to actually do that in less than a day, we're obviously looking at that for emergency operations centers, for FEMA, and for State Department and things like that. So that's certainly another possibility. But it depends on the availability of the information that we can bring in.
There's also two concepts. There's actually what we call a mirror world, which represents the actual world, which is in DC. And there's actually a virtual representation, which is an artistic rendering of the environment. And that could be also just, a city anywhere in Afghanistan based on pictures or whatever that an artist can actually bring up. So it depends on your need, and what is good enough for you will depend on those time frames. But
thank you so much. Other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Very interesting. Ted Woodcock, a consultant for IDA. You have the mirror world.
Yes.
Is there any thought of having models that represent the underlying dynamics of the processes that work in those things, not just simply a guy walking across a field, but the societal involvement and the kinds of things you have? Pictures of terrorists being caught, but is there any understanding of the societal processes from which terrorists might emerge and how you might represent that in a virtual world?
Absolutely. One of the critical needs that we have and opportunities is to integrate the cultural information that we have and to develop those models so that we can interact with other cultures in social situations. And the Human Terrain Initiative, which actually is starting to now methodically look at that across the world, is a great source of information for that. There are many others too, but we are developing automated techniques where we actually will have avatars that will look like Arab speakers, as an example. We'll have the voice, the inflection, and also the articulation and motions of that speaker, so that can be used to role play or to interact with that character. So that's a very important aspect of what we're doing. Does that answer your question? Thank you so much. Yeah.
Others who haven't had a chance to ask questions yet?
Oh, sorry. My name is Masi Sotole from SAIS. My question is this. I'm 30 years old now, or young, but I have some mentees in my building who they have a PlayStation, Xbox, and whatnot, and they play games that have these simulation capabilities. And I've noticed that the entertainment industry has actually grown leaps and bounds in being able to do this type of thing. So I'm wondering if what kind of linkages are there or possibly being forged between the professional world, where this is being incorporated into the military, into political, into social aspects of development promotion, and just linking it with just the fun and the games and the entertainment that's going on with the youth.
That is such a great question, because what we're finding is that the millennial generation, which are the folks that are now graduating into the workforce, as you say, they live and use these tools every day. They have the PlayStations at home. They play World of Warcraft at 4 in the morning. They're tweeting as we speak. The amazing idea of having a Second Life avatar tweeting, that's a brand new one. But amazing. So we are working with the game developers. We're working with Hollywood. Matter of fact, we had, if you follow the National Criminal Investigative Services show, NCIS, popular for those that watch TV. Not everyone watches TV. But several weeks ago, they ran an episode called Legend, where they used this virtual world and a set of integrated tools to show how a virtual world could be used in their scenario. So your point is a good one. We're working very closely with the technologies, with the companies, as well as the producers in Hollywood, because they actually do much better than we do in creating the art of the possible, to advance that and also to create an environment that as we bring the millennials, the new generation in, that we'll have a place where they can work and collaborate and be productive. So, thank you.
Well, I've got a question for you, Charlie, because it's sort of the elephant in the room, if you will. This technology has been around in gaming, you know, that kids have been playing with for a while, but we haven't seen it in this world, in the conflict resolution world. And is it because of the cost factor? How do you make this virtual world available to Pauline's organization, Fund for Peace, so that they can actually simulate an environment before they get there? What's the economics of this today?
Well, there are a number of, excellent question, number of impediments. One is accessibility. In the past, and even today, it's not possible easily to access these tools through your infrastructure. So if you wanted to sit down today, I mean, none of us can access World of Warcraft or Second Life from our desktops because our IT people prevent it, I believe. That's true in most cases, okay? And that may be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on how you look at it. But that's one big impediment. That's being solved as we speak. Another is economic. Actually, the acquisition cycle makes it very difficult to do anything that's innovative and happens very quickly, and that's where we are. 2 years ago, I don't think any of us realized that we would be here today able to talk in this way. So I think understanding the economics and the acquisition cycle, and there's also the big cultural aspect. You know, I was amazed to hear Beth stand up and talk about, representing the White House, World of Warcraft. I mean, we talk about that in many communities, but to have the White House publicly speaking about that is an amazing phenomenon. So that really moves the cultural aspects of this forward. So I think that those are the impediments, but the good news is I think we're now at the point where we can start to work through those impediments to give you the capabilities that you can actually start to use immediately.
All right, let's take the online world, and then we'll go for our break.
I'll pass on one question to you from Twitter handle ICT4Dev, who's actually in one of our overflow rooms. So we're bringing in questions from elsewhere in the Institute building through this. How well does the Olive 3D world translate standard conference meetings for people who are locked down in insecure environments? It's a big issue for the conflict community.
Absolutely. So Olive has, Forterra's Olive platform has a security that works across the network. It gives you user security, it gives you network security. And we're using it today in internet instantiations where we can actually log in across the open internet to conduct secure meetings. So it's possible today to do that. Absolutely. And the good thing about Olive is you control it. It's the server capability that sits in your data center, which for IT organizations, that's an absolute requirement. If we're going to use a system that works across the internet, we have to control it, and you can actually do that. Now, there are many other tools. Second Life, Scott will speak about that in a few minutes, that are also developing capabilities that will give us the ability to do that. But the good news is that for people in an unsecure environment, the tools that we have now will meet those requirements. But it's a matter of working those requirements with the IT folks and getting the accreditations done, which is a big challenge. But we're working that as we speak. So.
Ruba, thank you very,
thank you
very
so much.
Appreciate it.